Biggest story of the day by far, the power outage that shut down Atlanta's International Airport, stranding hundreds of thousands of passengers. But the good news, the power is back. Here's new video just into our newsroom minutes ago showing a very welcome sight after hours in the dark, light at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. But that doesn't mean the trouble's over here. It's going to take days to sort out all the missed flights, the delays, and of course, the disgruntled passengers. Here's what you need to know right now. We still don't know the exact cause of the power failure, but it's being blamed on a fire at one of Georgia's power substations just after 1 p.m. Mayor Kasim Reed says terrorism is not suspected, but has not been ruled out. Another big problem here. That same fire took out access to Georgia's backup system, the backup system to the power, leaving those passengers and employees literally in the dark. Our 11 Alive team coverage has been working all angles of this story tonight, and we begin with Natisha Lance, who's at the Emergency Management System with the latest. Natisha, the power's back on. That's the good news. It must be a sigh of relief behind you.
Oh, Vinny, absolutely a sigh of relief. It was a little touch and go for a bit here because over the last hour or so, things were starting to come on slowly but surely. So first we heard that it was T, the atrium, A, B, F, and T were back on. But just as Bentina Terry, who is the vice president of Georgia Power, walked out just a moments ago, she told me that everything is back on except for the SkyTrain, which is not back on. So the big question is that a lot of people may have is how were they able to make this happen? What I was told by the director of communications, who's been in this room behind me over the last several hours trying to work out this situation, is that massive generators were brought in. So this is somewhat of a temporary fix until they're able to get to the root of what the problem really is here with that fire that you mentioned. And let me take you back just a couple of hours ago. We heard from a briefing from Mayor Kasim Reed that this was caused by a fire that was in a tunnel underneath the airport in a Georgia Power substation. Now, they don't know what the cause of that fire was, and because they don't know, they can't rule out this being an act of terror, but they did say there's no indication so far that this was done deliberately. Now, people had questions about why the backup system didn't kick into play. Take a listen to what the mayor had to say about that.
And the intensity of the heat on the fire, and we're going to share just the extensive damage that was done, impacted the switch that would have allowed the redundancy to kick in. And so 2 of our stations were adversely impacted by this fire. But here's the direct answer. We couldn't get the Georgia Power crew into the tunnels because of the noxious fumes.
And Vinny, once crews were able to get in there, it took them about 2 hours to contain that fire. Again, they still don't know exactly what the cause of it was at this point, but much of a sigh of a relief to learn that now power has been restored. Now, the big question tomorrow, when will the first flight go out? They are expecting the first flight to go out at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. I did speak to a spokesperson for TSA here today because their systems have to be recalibrated. So how long does that process take? And they said that that process will be just about an hour. They are bringing in more staff to try to take care of all the people who are going to be there. And you and I know if you have been to Hartsfield-Jackson Airport on a Monday where folks are going out for business travel, it is busy. So just think about these 10,000 plus passengers who have been there in addition to the folks who are flying out tomorrow. It's going to be long lines, so pack some more patience, but they are expecting that system to be cleared within about 6 to 8 hours and everything to be moving back on track, Vinny.
So, Natisha, at this point, they're using these massive backup generators to do it. They didn't fix the problem, so they really haven't gotten in there and been able to ascertain exactly what happened and not a permanent fix here.
Right, that's absolutely right. Their main priority was to get the power restored. So that was their main priority. And if you look in this room behind me, this is the Emergency Operations Center. This is where folks have been working on this issue throughout the evening. And there are these big, large pieces of paper that you can probably see over on the side here and over here. And on that sheet, there was one sheet that said list of priorities. The number 1 priority was restoring power, and everything else has come secondary to that. The mayor acknowledged that there was a lack of communication. He apologized for that. He understood that there was frustration, that folks were angry, but they didn't want to come out and make a statement until they felt like they had as much information as they possibly could to give to everybody without assuming things. But still at this point, they don't know exactly what caused that fire and this massive power outage to take place at the airport.
All right, Natisha Lance at Emergency Management. We're going to check back with you in just a little bit.